The arrival. It started on a cold, clear night. Across Earth's cities, skies shimmered with stars, and everything seemed normal. Then the signal came. At first, it was just a faint whisper, a strange, repetitive sound picked up by satellites and radio telescopes. Scientists scrambled to decode it, thinking it might be interference or an anomaly. But as the minutes passed, the signal grew stronger and more organized. By the time the first broadcast hit global networks, panic had already begun. Across the world, televisions, phones, and radios blared the same terrifying message. It wasn't in any known language, yet everyone could understand it. A deep, mechanical voice echoed, "Attention, inhabitants of Earth, surrender your planet. Submit to the Dominion, or face complete annihilation." The message repeated twice before silence returned. A hush fell over cities, towns, and villages. People gathered around screens, their faces pale with fear. It wasn't a question anymore. This was real. In space, far above Earth's surface, the invaders arrived. Massive ships emerged from nowhere, tearing through the fabric of space. They were colossal, dark, and menacing, like floating cities built for destruction. Their surfaces gleamed with alien lights, pulsating in eerie patterns. There were dozens of them, spreading across the planet, blocking out the sun in some areas. Scientists in observatories were the first to report the fleet's presence. They tried to contact the ships, sending every known form of communication: radio waves, light signals, even mathematical sequences. But there was no reply. Only the chilling broadcast echoed on repeat. The President of the United States called for an emergency meeting with world leaders. In the heart of the Pentagon, generals, scientists, and politicians argued. Some pushed for immediate surrender, convinced resistance was futile. Others demanded a show of strength, believing humanity couldn't bow to an unknown enemy. While the leaders debated, panic erupted in cities. People rushed to stockpile supplies. Traffic jams stretched for miles, and riots broke out in some places. Social media was flooded with theories. Is this the end? Can Earth fight back? What do they want from us? Meanwhile, on the outskirts of Tokyo, Dr. Elena Carter, a leading astrophysicist, worked frantically in her lab. She was studying the alien signal, trying to uncover any hidden meanings. Her fingers raced across her keyboard, analyzing patterns in the transmission. Suddenly, her eyes widened. "It's not just a message," she whispered to herself. "It's a code, a challenge." Far above Earth, in the darkness of space, the alien ships began to move. Slowly, they descended into the atmosphere, their massive forms causing shockwaves. Cities trembled under their shadows. One ship hovered above New York, its underside glowing with strange symbols. Another loomed over London, and a third stationed itself above Beijing. The world held its breath as a smaller vessel detached from the fleet, descending toward Earth. It landed in the Nevada desert, surrounded instantly by military forces. Tanks, helicopters, and soldiers formed a perimeter, their weapons aimed at the vessel. From the ship's side, a door opened with a hiss. A tall figure stepped out, cloaked in shimmering metallic armor. Its face was obscured, but its presence was undeniable. An ambassador of an advanced, terrifying race. The alien raised a hand, and a strange device lit up. In a deep, distorted voice, it spoke directly to the humans. "This planet is now property of the Dominion. Resistance is meaningless. Surrender your resources and your species, or be eliminated." General Thomas Gray, the commander on site, clenched his fists. "What do you mean, our species?" he growled through gritted teeth. The alien tilted its head, almost mockingly. "Your kind will serve as fuel for the Dominion. Your bodies will ensure our survival." A ripple of horror spread through the soldiers. Fuel. What kind of creatures were these invaders? Back in Tokyo, Dr. Carter stared at her screen, her mind racing. The signal wasn't just a threat, it was a test. The aliens were probing humanity, trying to see how advanced Earth's technology really was. They're not here for peace, she realized. They're here to take everything. The president's voice came over the emergency broadcast system, addressing the world. This is not the end. We will not surrender. Humanity will fight. Together, we will stand against this threat. As his words echoed across the globe, people watched the alien ships, their fear turning into a fragile determination. Soldiers prepared their weapons, scientists worked on emergency projects, and ordinary citizens braced for the unknown. Above Earth, the alien fleet loomed, an unstoppable force. But humanity was ready to defy them, no matter the cost. The first battle for Earth was about humanity's response. The world was in chaos, yet a strange unity began to emerge. For the first time in centuries, borders and politics didn't matter. Humanity faced a common enemy. In underground bunkers and fortified command centers, leaders from every nation gathered via secure communications. The President of the United States, flanked by advisors and military officials, addressed the coalition. "We have two options," he said firmly. "Surrender and become slaves, or fight with everything we have." The response was mixed. Some leaders argued that resistance was hopeless. Humanity's most advanced weapons were no match for ships the size of cities. Others insisted that survival required courage. If humanity didn't fight, extinction was certain. General Thomas Gray, a seasoned military commander with decades of experience, stood in the Pentagon's war room. His voice cut through the chaos. "Surrender is not survival. If we're going down fighting. That's the only message they'll understand." Meanwhile, in her Tokyo lab, Dr. Elena Carter continued her frantic work. She was convinced the alien signal held more than just threats. After hours of analysis, she found it, a hidden pattern buried in the broadcast. "It's a frequency," she murmured, her eyes widening. "They're using this signal to communicate with their fleet. If we disrupt it—" She didn't finish the thought but immediately contacted the Global Defense Coalition. Her message reached General Gray, who listened carefully. "If we can jam their communications, even for a few minutes, it could give us a chance," Dr. Carter explained. Gray nodded. "Then we'll give you the resources you need, but we need time to prepare." Across the globe, military forces mobilized. Fighter jets roared into the skies, battleships patrolled the oceans, and space agencies launched emergency satellites. It wasn't just soldiers who joined the fight. Engineers, scientists, and even hackers offered their skills. Captain Jack Rains, a hotshot pilot with a reputation for bending the rules, was among those called to action. Known for his fearless flying and sharp instincts, Rains had been grounded for disobeying orders during a previous mission. Now, his skills were in high demand. "Looks like they need me after all," he smirked as he suited up. Rains was assigned to lead a squadron of experimental space fighters equipped with Earth's most advanced weapons. His mission: strike the enemy fleet and buy time for Dr. Carter's team to disrupt the alien communications. As night fell, the first wave of attacks began. Earth's missiles and fighter jets launched coordinated strikes against the alien ships. Explosions lit up the sky, but the alien shields absorbed most of the damage. For every missile that made it through, dozens were deflected or destroyed. In the Nevada desert, the alien ambassador watched the spectacle from its ship, unimpressed. It transmitted a message to its fleet: primitive resistance detected. Deploy countermeasures. Moments later, smaller alien craft emerged from the motherships. These fighters were fast, agile, and deadly. They swarmed Earth's forces, their plasma weapons tearing through planes and tanks with ease. Captain Rains and his squadron engaged the enemy, weaving through the chaos. His fighters' advanced targeting systems locked onto an alien craft, and with a pull of the trigger, he scored a direct hit. The alien ship exploded in a ball of fire. "Not so invincible now, are you?" Rains muttered, dodging another plasma blast. Back on the ground, Dr. Carter and her team worked tirelessly. Using supercomputers and satellite arrays, they developed a jamming signal designed to disrupt the aliens' communications. It wasn't perfect, but it was their best shot. "We're ready," she told General Gray. "Do it," Gray ordered. At exactly midnight, the jamming signal was activated. Across the battlefield, alien ships faltered. Their formations broke, and their smaller craft began to retreat. For the first time, Earth's forces gained the upper hand. Cheers erupted in command centers and on the front lines. The tide was turning, but the victory was short-lived. Above New York, the largest alien ship began to glow. Its underside opened, revealing a massive weapon. Energy crackled as the weapon charge, aimed directly at the city below. In the Pentagon, General Gray's face hardened. "They're retaliating. We need to stop that weapon." Captain Rains received the order. "On it," he said, his voice steady despite the odds. He and his squadron raced toward the glowing ship, dodging enemy fire. As the weapon neared full charge, Rains made a decision. "I'm going in close," he announced. "Are you crazy?" one of his wingmen shouted. "Just cover me," Rains replied. With precision and nerves of steel, Rains maneuvered his fighter through the alien ship's defenses. He targeted a weak point in the weapon's structure and fired. The explosion was blinding. The alien weapon shattered, but the shockwave caught Rains' fighter. His craft spiraled out of control, disappearing into the clouds. "Rains, do you copy?" his wingman called, but there was no response. On the ground, people watched in awe as the massive alien ship began to retreat. The jamming signal had worked, and Earth had won its first battle. But in her lab, Dr. Carter wasn't celebrating. She had uncovered something terrifying in the alien broadcast, something she hadn't told anyone yet. "They're testing us," she whispered. "This isn't their full strength." Above Earth, the alien fleet regrouped, their ships glowing ominously. The first battle was over, but the war had just begun. The first strike. The alien fleet's retreat after the first battle brought a fragile hope, but no one believed the war was over. In cities worldwide, people prepared for the worst, building bunkers, stockpiling food, and clinging to the faint possibility of survival. Meanwhile, the leaders of Earth knew they had little time to act. In the Pentagon's war room, General Thomas Gray stared at the holographic display of the alien fleet. "They've pulled back, but they're still out there," he said grimly. "This isn't a retreat, it's a regrouping." Dr. Elena Carter, appearing on a secure video feed, nodded in agreement. "Their first wave was a test. I've analyzed the signals. They're preparing a coordinated assault, and it'll be devastating." "Then we hit them first," Gray said, his voice sharp. Across the table, other generals and advisors exchanged uneasy glances. "We don't have the firepower," one of them argued. "We do now," Gray countered, gesturing to a set of schematics on the table. "Project Sci-Fi is operational." Sci-Fi was humanity's secret weapon, a prototype missile designed to bypass alien shields. It had never been tested in combat, but Gray was willing to take the risk. "We'll target their command ship," he said. "Take out their leader, and we cripple their entire operation." The plan was bold, but it was all they had. A strike team was assembled, consisting of Earth's best pilots and soldiers. Captain Jack Rains, presumed dead after his crash, emerged from the shadows, bruised but alive. "You didn't think I'd missed the party, did you?" he quipped as he joined the briefing. The room erupted in cheers. Rains' return was a morale boost for everyone involved. Hours later, in deep space, the strike team launched in stealth shuttles, their engines running on low-emission drives to avoid detection. They carried Skyfire missiles, along with standard weapons, and enough courage to face impossible odds. Rains led the squadron, his voice calm over the comms. "Remember the plan. We get in, we hit their command ship, and we get out. No heroics." The fleet loomed ahead, its ships glowing with an ominous energy. The humans navigated through the debris field left from the first battle, using it as cover. "Stay tight," Rains ordered as they approached the outer perimeter. Suddenly, alarms blared. The alien fleet had detected them. Smaller alien fighters swarmed out of the larger ships, their plasma weapons lighting up the darkness. "Here they come," one pilot shouted. The humans fought fiercely, their experimental weapons proving more effective than anticipated. For every alien craft they destroyed, 2 more seemed to appear. "We're not going to make it through at this rate," Rains yelled. Then an idea struck him. "Squadron Alpha, follow me. Beta Team, cover us." Rains dove straight toward the nearest alien ship, weaving through its defenses with expert precision. The massive vessel fired its energy cannons, narrowly missing him. "Is he insane?" one pilot muttered. "Always," another replied. Rains' maneuver wasn't just reckless, it was strategic. The alien ship's fire drew attention away from the strike team, giving them a clear path to the command vessel. Inside the alien command, the leader of the invasion fleet, a towering figure encased in shimmering black armor, watched the battle unfold on a holographic display. Its voice was calm and cold. "Primitive species, their defiance is futile," it said, addressing its subordinates. Suddenly, alarms echoed through the ship. The holographic display zoomed in on the incoming human strike team. "Impossible," the leader hissed. "They've breached the perimeter." It barked orders in its native language, commanding its forces to annihilate the humans. The final approach. Rains and his squadron reached the command ship, their Sci-Fi missiles armed and ready. Plasma fire from alien defenses rained down on them, and one by one, human fighters were struck. "Stay on target," Rains shouted as his own ship took a hit. Smoke filled the cockpit, but he pushed forward. "Skyfire 1, locked on," a pilot reported. "Skyfire 2, ready," another chimed in. "Fire on my mark," Rains ordered. The missiles launched, streaking through space toward the command ship. The alien shields activated, creating a shimmering barrier. For a moment, it seemed the missiles would fail. Then, Skyfire's unique technology kicked in. The missiles emitted a burst of electromagnetic energy, disrupting the shields just long enough to penetrate. The command ship erupted in a massive explosion, sending shockwaves through the battlefield. Aftermath. Cheers erupted among the surviving pilots as the alien fleet began to falter. Smaller ships lost coordination, retreating chaotically. "Direct hit," Rains confirmed, his voice shaky but triumphant. But the victory came at a cost. Half the strike team had been lost, and Rains' fighter was critically damaged. As he limped back toward Earth, he knew the war was far from over. On the ground, Dr. Carter watched the battle unfold on her monitors. When the command ship exploded, she let out a breath she hadn't realized she was holding. "We did it," she whispered. But the second wave, the celebration after the destruction of the alien command ship, was brief. Across the world, people cheered, believing humanity had struck a decisive blow. But in underground bunkers and war rooms, those in command knew better. Dr. Elena Carter sat at her workstation, her face pale as new data poured in. The alien fleet wasn't retreating, it was regrouping. Worse, another fleet, even larger, was emerging from deep space. "This isn't over," she whispered, her voice trembling. "It's just beginning." In the Pentagon war room, General Gray leaned over the table, glaring at the holographic display of the alien reinforcements. "Another fleet," he muttered. "And this one's twice the size of the first." He turned to Dr. Carter, who had just arrived via helicopter. "How long until they reach Earth?" 72 hours, she replied grimly. "Maybe less if they accelerate." 72 hours to figure out how to stop them, Gray said. "Suggestions?" The room fell silent. The last attack had stretched humanity's resources to the brink. Skyfire had worked, but there were only a handful of those missiles left, and building more would take weeks. Rains, patched up and standing with his arm in a sling, broke the silence. We need to hit them before they hit us. Again. That's suicide, one general snapped. Maybe, Rains replied, unfazed. But sitting around waiting for them to flatten us is worse. Dr. Carter hesitated, then spoke up. There might be another way. All eyes turned to her. The jamming signal we used during the first battle. It wasn't just disrupting their communications. It was also gathering data. I've been analyzing it, and I think I've found a vulnerability. She tapped a few keys, and the holographic display shifted to show the alien ship's energy cores. Their power comes from these, she explained. Massive reactors that generate energy by folding spacetime. But the folding process creates a weak point. If we can disrupt it, the reactors could collapse. Collapse how? Gray asked. Think of it like a star collapsing into a black hole, Carter said. But on a smaller scale, the energy implosion would destroy the ship and anything nearby. Anything nearby, Rains repeated, including us. It's a risk, Carter admitted, but it's the best shot we have. The plan. The strategy was set. A small team of elite pilots, led by Rains, would infiltrate the alien fleet and plant devices designed to destabilize the energy cores. Meanwhile, Earth's ground forces would launch a full-scale diversionary attack to draw attention away from the Time was running out. Factories worked around the clock to produce the destabilizers, while engineers modified existing spacecraft for the mission. Volunteers flooded recruitment centers, eager to join the fight despite the odds. In space, the second alien fleet arrived ahead of schedule, their ships blotting out the stars. This fleet was more organized, their formations tighter, their weapons deadlier. Earth's forces launched their diversionary assault. Missiles, fighter jets, and orbital platforms bombarded the alien ships, creating a chaotic battlefield. Amidst the chaos, Rains and his team slipped through the enemy lines. Their ships, coated in radar-dampening materials and equipped with cloaking technology, evaded detection. For now. Keep it tight, Rains ordered over the comms. We only get one shot at this. The alien ships loomed ahead, their glowing cores visible through the hulls. The team split up, each heading for a designated target. As Rains approached his target, alarms blared. The aliens had detected them. Speed it up, people, he shouted, dodging plasma fire. Rains maneuvered his fighter into a narrow vent on the alien ship's surface, narrowly avoiding a collision. He reached the core chamber, a massive, pulsating sphere of energy. The sight was both awe-inspiring and terrifying. Planting the destabilizer now, he reported, his hand steady despite the chaos. The device latched onto the core, its lights blinking as it began its countdown. One down, Rains said, pulling out of the vent. On the ground, Dr. Carter monitored the mission from a command center. The strike team's progress was encouraging, but the alien fleet was adapting. Their ships moved with alarming precision, targeting Earth's forces with devastating accuracy. We're losing too many, General Gray muttered, watching the casualty reports. Carter's eyes widened as new data appeared on her screen. They're charging a super weapon, she said, her voice rising. Gray turned to her. What kind of super weapon? Carter pointed to the display. If they fire this, they could wipe out an entire continent. The clock ticks down. In space, the strike team raced to complete their mission. One by one, the destabilizers were planted. But as the last ship's core was targeted, the alien fleet's superweapon began to power up. Rains, we're out of time. Carter's voice came through his comms. I'm almost done. Rains replied, his ship weaving through enemy fire. He reached the final core and planted the destabilizer, but his ship took a direct hit. Smoke filled the cockpit as warning lights flashed. Rains, get out of there, his wingman yelled. Not yet, Rains said, his voice strained. He activated the destabilizer manually, ensuring it would detonate. With seconds to spare, he ejected from his fighter, hurtling into the void as the core began to collapse. The explosion. The first destabilizer detonated, triggering a chain reaction across the fleet. Alien ships imploded, their cores collapsing into violent bursts of energy. The superweapon, moments away from firing, was caught in the explosion. Its energy fed back into itself, creating a massive shockwave that tore through the fleet. Aftermath. Earth's forces watched in stunned silence as the alien fleet disintegrated. Cheers erupted across the planet as the realization sank in. Humanity had won the second battle. But as Dr. Carter analyzed the data, her expression darkened. "This wasn't their full force," she murmured. "There's more out there, and they'll be back." In deep space, beyond the reach of human sensors, a third fleet prepared to strike. This time, it wouldn't be a test. It would be total. The rising threat. The second wave of alien destruction had been stopped, but humanity had little time to savor the victory. The cost had been staggering. Thousands of lives lost, cities reduced to rubble, and Earth's remaining defenses severely weakened. In the global command center beneath the Rocky Mountains, General Gray stood before a holographic map of Earth's devastated cities. His voice was firm as he addressed the room. "We've bought ourselves some time, but make no mistake, they're coming back. We need to be ready." Dr. Elena Carter entered the room, her face grim. She carried a tablet filled with data gathered during the recent battle. "They've already started," she announced, projecting the information onto the holographic map. A red dot appeared far off the planet's orbit. "This is a scout ship from their third fleet. They're probing our defenses again." Gray's jaw tightened. "How long do we have before the main fleet arrives?" Dr. Carter hesitated. "Weeks, at most. And this fleet isn't like the others. It's not just larger, it's built for annihilation. They won't hold back this time." The plan. Humanity's leaders knew they couldn't survive another direct assault. They needed a new strategy, one that would take the fight to the aliens. Dr. Carter presented an idea. "We've learned a lot about their technology. We know their weaknesses, and we know how their command structure operates. If we can infiltrate their mothership and disable their central command systems, we could cripple the entire fleet." "That's a suicide mission," one of the generals objected. "Maybe," Carter admitted. "But it's our only chance." The plan was audacious. A small team of elite operatives would infiltrate the alien mothership, using stolen technology from the destroyed ships to avoid detection. Their goal: sabotage the command systems and force the fleet to retreat. Recruiting the team. General Gray handpicked the strike team, choosing only the best soldiers, pilots, and engineers from around the world. Among them was Captain Jack Rains, still recovering from his injuries, but refusing to sit on the sidelines. "You sure you're up for this?" Gray asked him. Rains smirked. "I've come this far. Might as well finish the job." The team also included Lieutenant Sarah Alvarez, a brilliant hacker and former Black Ops operative, and Marcus Kane, a demolitions expert known for his unorthodox methods. Dr. Carter joined the mission as well, insisting that her expertise would be essential for navigating the alien systems. "If this works," she said, "we'll give humanity a fighting chance. If it doesn't..." She didn't finish the sentence. The infiltration. The mission began with a daring assault on the alien scout ship orbiting Earth. Using experimental cloaking technology, the strike team's shuttle approached undetected. Inside the alien craft, the team worked quickly to retrieve the data they needed to locate the mothership. Alvarez hacked into the ship's systems, her fingers flying across a portable console. "They're using a quantum relay to communicate with the fleet," she said. "If I can trace the signal..." "Work faster," Rains urged, keeping an eye on the doorway. The team had already encountered heavy resistance, and reinforcements were surely on the way. Alvarez finished the trace just as alien soldiers burst into the room. Kane tossed a grenade, and the team fought their way back to the shuttle. "We've got what we need," Alvarez announced as they blasted away from the scout ship. "The mothership's coordinates are locked in." The final battle. The alien mothership was a massive, city-sized vessel bristling with weapons and defenses. The strike-teamed shuttle approached under the cover of the same jamming signal that had disrupted the First Fleet. Once aboard, the team split up. Carter and Alvarez worked to disable the command systems, while Rains and Kane planted explosives at key structural points. The alien interior was a labyrinth of glowing corridors and towering machinery. Every step of the mission was fraught with danger as alien soldiers hunted them relentlessly. In the central control chamber, Carter and Alvarez found the command core, a pulsating sphere of energy surrounded by alien interfaces. "This is it," Carter said, her voice steady. "If we take this out, we take out the fleet." Alvarez began hacking into the system, bypassing layers of alien security protocols. Alarms blared, and the room shook as the mothership's defenses activated. "Rains, we're out of time," Carter shouted into the comms. The sacrifice. As the team regrouped, the mothership's self-repair systems began to counter their sabotage. It was clear they wouldn't have enough time to escape before the explosives detonated. Rains made the decision. "You all get to the shuttle. I'll stay behind and make sure this thing goes down." "No way," Alvarez protested. "That's an order," Rains said firmly. He handed her a data drive. "This has everything we've learned about their fleet. Get it back to Earth." Reluctantly, the team retreated to the shuttle. Rains remained on the mothership, fighting off waves of alien soldiers as he manually detonated the explosives. His final words over the comms were calm. "Tell Earth we're not done yet. Not by a long shot." The aftermath. The mothership exploded in a brilliant burst of light, taking the significant portion of the alien fleet with it. The surviving alien ships retreated, but the victory came at a heavy price. On Earth, Carter and Alvarez delivered the data drive to the global coalition. It contained critical information about the aliens' origins and motivations, and a warning. "This war isn't over," Carter said as she addressed the coalition. "They'll be back, and we need to be ready. But now we have something we didn't have before: hope." Above Earth, the remnants of the alien fleet disappeared into the void. But their message was clear. Humanity had won the battle. But the war was far from over. The homeworld's secret. The world mourned the loss of Captain Jack Rains, whose sacrifice had delivered humanity's first real victory against the alien invaders. Across Earth, people rebuilt their cities and prepared for the next wave. But beneath the surface, a secret mission was taking shape, one that could turn the tide of the war for good. In a hidden bunker deep beneath the Rocky Mountains, Dr. Elena Carter analyzed the data recovered from the alien mothership. It revealed a startling discovery: the invaders' homeworld. "They're not just attacking us randomly," Carter explained to General Gray and a select group of leaders. "This is part of a larger campaign. Their homeworld is the key to their entire operation." Gray frowned. "Are you suggesting we take the fight to them?" Carter nodded. "If we can strike at their homeworld, we could cripple their ability to wage war." A desperate gamble. The plan was audacious and fraught with danger. Using the stolen technology and data from the alien fleet, humanity would construct a single advanced starship capable of making the journey to the aliens' homeworld. Codenamed Liberator, the ship would carry a team of scientists, soldiers, and engineers on a one-way mission to disable the alien infrastructure at its source. The project moved at breakneck speed, with nations pooling resources and expertise. Factories churned out components for the ship, while volunteers from around the world clamored for a chance to join the mission. Among those chosen for the crew were Lieutenant Sarah Alvarez, the brilliant hacker who had proven her skills in the last mission, and Marcus Kane, the demolitions expert whose unorthodox methods had saved lives. Dr. Carter insisted on joining the mission as well. "If this is our best chance to end the war, I need to be there," she said firmly. The journey. The Liberator launched under the cover of darkness, its experimental cloaking technology shielding it from alien patrols. The crew braced themselves for the unknown as the ship entered deep space. The journey to the alien homeworld took weeks, during which tensions ran high. Alvarez spent hours in the ship's systems, decoding fragments of alien data in hopes of uncovering more about their enemy. "They're not just a warlike species," she said one day, sharing her findings with Carter. "Their society is built around something called the Nexus. It seems to be a central hub that controls their fleets, their communication, everything." "The Nexus could be their Achilles heel," Carter replied. The homeworld. When the Liberator finally arrived, the crew was awestruck by the sight of the alien homeworld. It was a massive dark planet surrounded by glowing rings of energy. Towering spires dotted the surface, each emitting a pulsing light that seemed to sync with the planet's core. "That's it," Carter said, pointing to a structure in the center of the largest spire. The Nexus. As the Liberator approached, the alien defenses sprang to life. Swarms of ships rose from the surface, their weapons lighting up the void. "Evasive maneuvers," the captain shouted, and the ship darted through the chaos. The Liberator launched its own fighters, with Alvarez and Kane leading the charge. They fought their way through the alien fleet, clearing a path for the infiltration. The Nexus. Carter, Alvarez, and Kane descended to the planet's surface in a stealth pod. The air was thick with an otherworldly glow, and the ground vibrated beneath their feet. Inside the Nexus, the team encountered an alien environment unlike anything they'd seen before. The walls seemed alive, pulsing with energy. Strange symbols flickered across the surfaces, and an eerie hum filled the air. "This place isn't just a command center," Carter realized. "It's alive. It's connected to their entire species." Alvarez worked quickly, hacking into the alien systems to plant a virus that would disable the Nexus. Meanwhile, Kane rigged explosives to ensure the structure would be destroyed if the virus failed. But the aliens weren't going to let them succeed without a fight. Waves of soldiers poured into the Nexus, their movements coordinated and relentless. "We're running out of time," Alvarez shouted as she worked. Kane fired back at the approaching aliens, his demolitions expertise turning the environment into a deadly trap. Carter activated a device that emitted a jamming signal, buying Alvarez the time she needed to finish uploading the virus. The collapse. As the virus spread through the Nexus, the structure began to shake violently. The pulsing light in the walls flickered and dimmed, and the hum grew into a deafening roar. "It's working," Carter exclaimed. The team raced back to their pod as the Nexus began to collapse. Explosions rippled through the spire, sending debris raining down. Back aboard the Liberator, the crew watched as the alien homeworld's defenses faltered. The swarms of enemy ships broke formation, their movements erratic and confused. "We've done it," Alvarez said, her voice filled with awe. The cost. But the victory came at a price. Kane had stayed behind to ensure the explosives detonated properly, sacrificing himself to give the mission a chance to succeed. As the Liberator escaped the collapsing planet, Carter and Alvarez silently mourned their fallen comrade. Back on Earth, the destruction of the Nexus sent shockwaves through the alien fleet. Without their central command, the invaders retreated, their ships vanishing into the depths of space. Humanity celebrated, but Carter warned that the war wasn't over. "They'll rebuild," she said, "but we've bought ourselves time. Time to prepare, time to rebuild, and time to ensure we're ready when they return." In the night sky, the remnants of the alien homeworld glimmered faintly, a reminder of the cost of survival and the resilience of humanity. The final stand. The destruction of the Nexus crippled the alien forces and brought a temporary peace to Earth. But Dr. Elena Carter's warning echoed in every decision humanity made. The aliens would return, and they would come with a vengeance. In the months following the mission to the alien homeworld, humanity worked tirelessly to fortify its defenses. Every nation contributed resources, technology, and manpower to construct a global fleet. Space stations were turned into weapons platforms, and experimental technologies, gleaned from the captured alien data, were deployed at an unprecedented scale. But the aliens were not idle. In the vast expanse of space, The remnants of their fleet regrouped under a new command, preparing for an all-out assault to avenge their losses. A new warning. Dr. Carter stared at the holographic display in the command center. The data she had feared was now a reality. "They're coming," she said, her voice grim. "And this time, there's no holding back. It's their entire armada." The hologram showed thousands of alien ships converging toward Earth. This was no longer a tactical operation. It was an extermination force. General Gray nodded, his face a mask of determination. "We fight to the end," he said. "We owe it to every soul who sacrificed to bring us this far." Preparing for battle. Humanity's fleet mobilized, an awe-inspiring array of ships ranging from nimble fighters to massive dreadnoughts. The Liberator, repaired and upgraded, served as the flagship. Lieutenant Sarah Alvarez, now a captain, took command of the Liberator. Marcus Kane's loss weighed heavily on her, but she used it as fuel to push harder, knowing he would have wanted her to keep fighting. Dr. Carter worked around the clock, coordinating with scientists and engineers to deploy Earth's most advanced weapon, a prototype energy cannon capable of destroying entire ships in a single blast. It was a gamble, but if it worked, it could turn the tide. The invasion. The alien fleet arrived in Earth's orbit like a swarm of locusts, blotting out the stars. Their ships filled the skies, their weapons glowing ominously. Earth's fleet met them head-on. The battle was ferocious, with both sides unleashing their full arsenal. The alien ships moved with terrifying precision, but humanity's forces had something the invaders lacked: desperation and determination. The turning point. As the battle raged, the aliens deployed a superweapon, a massive city-sized ship designed to obliterate entire planets. Its arrival sent shockwaves through the battlefield. "That thing's a planet killer," Alvarez said, staring at the screen aboard the Liberator. "We need to take it out," Gray ordered over the comms. But every attempt to attack the ship was thwarted by its powerful shields and overwhelming firepower. Dr. Carter devised a risky plan. "If we can overload its power core, we might be able to destroy it from the inside." Alvarez volunteered to lead the mission, taking a small team aboard the Liberator's shuttles to infiltrate the superweapon. Inside the beast, the alien superweapon was a labyrinth of glowing corridors and massive machinery. Alvarez's team fought their way to the core, planting explosives and using every ounce of their training to evade detection. But the aliens were relentless. One by one, team members fell, buying precious seconds for Alvarez to complete the mission. As the last explosive was set, Alvarez made the ultimate sacrifice, staying behind to manually detonate the charges and ensure the superweapon's destruction. The final push. The explosion of the superweapon sent shockwaves through the alien fleet, disrupting their formations. Earth's fleet seized the opportunity, launching a coordinated assault that decimated the remaining alien ships. The experimental energy cannon fired its final shot, taking out the enemy flagship and sending the remnants of the alien armada into retreat. Victory and sacrifice. When the battle ended, Earth was scared but victorious. Humanity had faced extinction and emerged stronger. The names of those who had fallen, Rains, Kane, Alvarez, became symbols of courage and sacrifice. Dr. Carter stood on the deck of the Liberator, looking out at the debris-strewn sky. She knew the aliens would return someday, but humanity had proven it could fight back. For now, there was hope. And as Earth rebuilt once again, its people vowed never to forget the cost of their survival or the resilience